This is the morning edition of the Weather Xtreme video. This is for Wednesday, March 4th. I'm James Spann. You'll be out there wearing your flip-flops today with temperatures in the 70s, but tomorrow, potential for big icing problems. Pretty wild forecast, but then again, this is early March in Alabama. This kind of stuff can happen this time of the year. Let's check it out and tell you everything we know. We won't tell you what we don't know. So here we go. Water vapor satellite view this morning. Got a big trough lifting out of the southwest United States. That'll be producing an increase in rain tonight and tomorrow. And of course, much of that will be frozen precipitation tomorrow for North Alabama. The northern branch will be delivering cold air. The Arctic front will creep into extreme North Alabama starting around midnight tonight. But boy, it's going to be warm today. Look at those numbers at daybreak. Low to mid-60s. We're expecting highs today between 72 and 76. Bring it on, but don't get used to it. Tomorrow, many locations across North Alabama will stay below freezing all day. That's a huge swing. It's conceivable some spots today at mid-afternoon will be at 72. Tomorrow at mid-afternoon, they could be at 29. We've got winter storm warnings up all the way from the Dallas-Fort Worth area to near Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia. In Alabama, this is a look where we have winter storm watches. And understand, these are issued where ice accumulation is expected to be greater than a quarter of an inch. It's not to say there will be no ice in other counties. There will, but this is the highest ice accumulation. Lamar, Fayette, Walker, Blount, Cullman, Winston, Marion counties, and counties north. Cullman and Huntsville are in this. Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Anniston, Gadsden not in the watch area. The ice accumulation for those cities expected to be under a quarter of an inch, and we'll obviously go into this in deep detail. Now, when you walk out the door this morning, you probably think, ooh, this is tornado weather. It feels that way because the dew points are up in the 60s and it's warm, but no severe weather expected. There is not even a marginal risk anymore for today and tonight, and that's good news, so that'll take that worry off the table. But boy, look at the chance of freezing rain accumulation. I mean, those numbers are very high over the northern, really half of Alabama. In fact, there's a low-end chance of freezing rain all the way down to Montgomery. But clearly, from I-20 north, that's the greatest chance of having some ice problems tomorrow. So let's talk about it. Here's the GFS. This is the 06C run, valid today at noon at 500 millibars. Warm 588 ridge over South Florida. Cold trough north and west of the state. Midday today. I don't think it rains a lot. Kind of maybe the sun peeking out from time to time. The GFS is printing a high of 75 today. But the Arctic front not too far away. Icing begins over northern Arkansas and northwest Tennessee during the day today. Now, this is midnight tonight. And the freeze line creeps into the northwestern corner of the state, and that's when freezing rain could begin around the shoals. And needless to say, with the freezing rain sleet situation, that's going to be the key. It's the temperature down at the surface. And we'll just follow the progression. This is 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. The red line, that's the freeze line. And again, this is coming off the GFS. And if this is right at 6 o'clock, the freeze line will be near Fayette and Huntsville and Scottsboro. Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Gadsden, Anniston, just a cold rain at 6 o'clock in the morning. No icing problems. However, by noon, the GFS pushes the freeze line. Again, that's that red line down to Livingston, Brent, Calera, Lincoln, and Weiss Lake. It doesn't reach Anniston, but it clearly Tuscaloosa and Birmingham, if this is right, would be in freezing rain and sleet by late morning. And a good bit of it, that's, it's coming on down. And that, needless to say, is problematic. Now, we note the NAM model is not as cold. This is tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. It's got the freeze line just a tad north of Cullman. And really, that model kind of keeps the freeze line just north of Interstate 59. And as usual, the truth is somewhere in between, and defining exactly where that freeze line will be very hard to do, but we have to assume it will drop a little south of Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, and Gadsden as a course of least regret. Here's a look at the freezing rain accumulation potential for Birmingham coming off the Buff Kit analysis tool, and it's got the model average between 0.12 of an inch and 0.14 of an inch. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but understand it doesn't take a lot to cause problems. I've said this many times before. Freezing drizzle. I've seen it ice up the Birmingham interstates with many wrecks downtown. So this is our public forecast, and the mitigating factors. Number one, it's obviously the warm infrastructure today. That's good, but for the bridges, trees, power lines, the warmth today really doesn't matter. But the heaviest ice accumulation in the winter storm watch area: Huntsville, Cullman, Aniana, Jasper, Fayette, Vernon, Haleyville, Hamilton, places like that, up to 0.3 of an inch. The amounts lighter down to Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, and Gadsden, 0.1 of an inch to 0.2 of an inch. In Anniston, it's iffy if you see any ice. It might be a case where you go to Sachs or Weaver and they've got ice, and you go down to Oxford, they don't have ice. And the freeze line will be reaching Interstate 59, we'll say, between 7 and 9 a.m. Might be mid-morning before it reaches there. So, you get up at 6 o'clock and it's raining and 34, you think no big deal, but by mid-morning it could be 30 degrees with ice problems. And areas north of Interstate 59 stay below freezing all day. Obviously, travel impact is the biggest issue, especially on bridges and overpasses. But understand where if you get 0.3 of an inch of ice on trees and power lines, there easily could be some scattered power outages. So that's the situation tomorrow. We'll have updates. And again, I'm telling you, these lines will change again as we see new model data. The 12Z set comes in later today. So check back for changes. Friday, we're out of the mess. And a Friday morning where there's ice is going to be pretty cold. We'll start the day probably in the upper teens. But the good news, the high Friday should be in the upper 40s as we start to warm up. Saturday, as the weekend begins, we go in the 50s, maybe upper 50s. Bright, sunny weather, and the same thing on Sunday. Now, Sunday could be partly sunny. Looks like the subtropical jet could come into play, and maybe even some rain down in South Alabama. But again, we'll forecast a dry day with upper 50s Sunday. Monday of next week, we're dry with low 60s. But Tuesday, all of a sudden, rain comes back in here. And if this is right, we'll need to bring in the chance of rain on Tuesday. And then Wednesday of next week, heights are coming up. No cold troughs, no winter weather mischief. And again, that's suggesting mild with a chance of showers and highs in the 60s. Here's the end of the forecast around the 13th of March, the end of next week. Troughing in the western U.S. And again, that looks kind of showery here and more cold air beginning to come down the pike. We'll keep an eye on that. That's a 1042 millibar high north of Minnesota. But again, if that's right for us, that would be warm and showery, or mild and showery. And again, after tomorrow, highs go in the 50s and 60s. It looks pretty good. And I want to mention that tomorrow it shows like a high of 51. That comes at midnight, 12:01 a.m. During the day, we'll be in the upper 20s and low 30s. It'll be a very cold day. That's it for the Weather Xtreme video today. We'll have notes in the blog. Next video here by 4 o'clock this afternoon. If you can, catch us this evening on the live stream of the television side, ABC 3340 News at 4, 5, 6, and 10. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and God bless.